Hey, y'all. Welcome to episode 172. We're going to have some fun today. This is going to be an episode called Getting to Know Us. We realized that we've only done this episode once, and that was before Samantha joined us. Hello. And that was back when we were just young and scared, and
I have aged you quite a bit since I joined.
you have aged us.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I have to say.
Yeah,
I have to
for
say.
sure.
Stress
So
it out every day.
now that we're such, professional YouTuber podcasters, we thought, let's do this fresh. Let's do it the real way. Let's highlight ourselves and make sure Samantha gets her time in the spotlight too. And
yeah, because I really don't talk about myself enough. So I appreciate that you're doing this.
I know.
Well, it's weird because we talk to our audience that we think they know us, right? Because I assume they've been listening since the beginning, but that's not the case. When you listen to a podcast, or watch on YouTube, you jump in at the middle of the story. So if you're in the middle of our story, now you can know why Samantha's always talking about Youpers, which I'd never heard of before.
Right?
Or why I'm obsessed with pizza. Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna get into it, catch you guys up in case you haven't listened to all the episodes from the beginning, and let you know where we are, a little about us, and why we bring this podcast to you.
Yeah. So I'm going to start. Okay, so if you're listening to the podcast, we're going to do our best to vocally tell you what we're talking about, because this episode is coming with quite a few photographs of us. So you might want to make this one a podcast, listen in your car, and then scatter on home, hop on YouTube, take a pic at some of these amazing pictures that we're going to share along the way.
She gave us homework, guys. 58 minutes ago, we logged in and she said, I need baby photos.
I need grade school, middle school, anything you've got, hobbies. Let's put it all out there and let's show pics to go with it.
Just forget about all your time blocking. Forget about what you had scheduled today. Forget you're having a major fundraiser on Thursday. I need baby pics.
I need baby pics.
I had to take dinner off of my schedule to accommodate this photo hunt. That's why I'm no longer eating dinner now.
Nope. Just get some pizza delivered. You'll be fine. It'll show up at your door when you need it. You'll be good. No worries. All right. I'm going to start by putting a picture up here because I want Samantha. Oh my gosh. Seriously, y'all. She is itty bitty teeny weeny with the cutest smile on her face in this picture that you guys are going to have to see it. Samantha, tell us about Samantha and where she was born.
So I live in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, Sault Ste. Marie. We have a bridge that goes over to Canada. So when I look out my window, I can see Canada. Yeah, I was born and raised up here, but I've traveled all over the U.S. My dad had a job that traveled, so I was homeschooled for most of elementary school and traveled around. If my dad was in Pennsylvania for a couple months, he'd call my mom and say, hey, bring the kids to Pennsylvania, and we'd go live there for a little while. And then we always had a home base here, so we'd come home, and then he'd be like, hey, I'm in North Carolina for a couple weeks, bring them down, and we'd go live there for a couple weeks. And so it was very adventurous. I have two little brothers, and one of my little brothers is my very best friend. So I do a lot with him. Yeah, I don't know.
Youper? You want to define Youper?
Oh, yeah. So I live in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Michigan is two peninsulas. I live in this one right here. And this is the Lower Peninsula. This is the upper. We call ourselves Youpers. And then there's a bridge that connects these two peninsulas. And we call these people trolls because they live under the bridge. So we are the Youpers and they are the trolls.
I sure hope we don't have any trolls that listen to this podcast because we just lost a few subscribers.
They understand. They go, that's okay. Youper, eh? Yeah.
I was about to say they're probably aware of that and have their own little fun with it, I'm sure.
Oh my gosh.
So if you hear me sometimes say sorry or A. I say a lot, and
You
I don't
just did
realize it.
actually in the sentence before this.
I say it a lot, and I don't realize. So yeah, I sound Canadian. It's very Midwest up here, backwoods Midwest. Not a lot
Wow.
of people.
All right, tell me this. So little Samantha's at her house and she's gonna go out to play. What did you do up there?
I mean, so we grew up in the country. We didn't have a lot of kids around us, and I was homeschooled for a long time. So we had cousins that lived down the road from our house, and my cousins were like my siblings, and our tiny little town, everybody was really close. So we just spent all of our time outside. Michigan, surrounded by water, tons of lakes, rivers, everything. So just swimming and bike riding and adventuring. And that's how I try to live my life now as well. So
yeah. Love it. Love it. All right. I'm going to skip from you. Hold on, y'all, because I got to share pictures. So I have to scroll through these pictures to get where I need to be. Because now we want to talk about little Libby.
Yeah. So, I grew up outside of the Scranton area in Moscow, Pennsylvania. I'm going to be 50 this year. So it's about 50 years ago. Yeah, right. Wow. Time flies. And, I have one younger sister and again, lived in the country with the cows in the backyard, all that stuff on the side of a mountain. We spent all of our time. Oh, there I am in my underoos. Yay. That was my prized possession.
Was that your younger sister with you or no? I was trying
to find... that's Addie.
Okay,
that's my younger
Addie.
sister.
Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And surrounded by family, but you didn't pick your friends back then. Your friends were your neighbors or whoever you could hop on your bike and go to see. So we spent a lot of time. Things I would be like horror struck if my kids wanted to do. Like we'd be like, oh yeah, it snowed today. There's a snow day today. We're just, I don't know, Mom, we'll be up the road, and we'd be snowmobiling and ice skating on God knows what pond.
Yep.
Yeah, if my kids were like building bonfires, all that good stuff, through high school, we played kick the can, was our big game. We drive into an open field at night after dark and play kick the can with flashlights, and I'll ride in the back of a truck. Yeah, pretty country upbringing, but a lot of fun. It's made me resourceful, I think.
Is that you?
That
is Maria.
Uh-oh, Maria, I've got her in the wrong spot. Hold on.
See, that's why I was worried about your server on some of these.
No.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, I'm going to try to do this, y'all. We're going to be sharing pictures, but they may pop up in the wrong order because we thought in the system we were putting them in the right order, but it may show up in the wrong order.
No, it just makes it more fun, don't you think?
That's right. We'll just
You're going to learn about us. And sporadic like we are. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So then we have me.
Oh, I've never seen that.
And her mom.
So tiny.
And I'll show one more baby pic.
Oh.
So I was born on Hilton Head Island. Well, actually born in Savannah, Georgia, because there was no hospital on the island 55 years ago when Molly was born. So you had to go off island to find a hospital. So I was born in Savannah, but raised my whole life on Hilton Head Island, which was a fun, amazing place to grow up. I did not appreciate it as much until I went off to college. And then every time I had a weekend to go home, everybody wanted to go. And it gave me a new appreciation for where I live, to see how much everybody else oohed and awed over the beauty of the island and all that it offered that I took for granted. But yeah, I had the same type childhood you guys did. I get up in the morning, hop on your banana seat bike and take off, right? Like whatever it was you were going to do, be home by dinner, and just go all day long. I grew up, the neighborhoods where I grew up were actually referred to as plantations. The majority of them were gated communities. We would go out and we were on the beach. So we would be on the beach or riding through to the neighbor's house or footing it. Where we talk about the water everywhere, you were swimming. I was swimming in the ocean, and to me that was normal. As an adult, when I had a child and was talking to other parents about it, they would be like, when you were that age, I mean, I literally, when I was little, would go by myself in the ocean, take my little floaty raft and collect sand dollars with my toes and put them up on the raft because my goal was to always find the smallest sand dollar that I could find. And yeah, that, and I remember doing that all by myself, probably 7 years old, 8 years old in the ocean on my own. But you know, it's whereas people think like skating on the pond, Libby, or like it was how you grew up. So you were taught what to do and what not to do, right? So you knew the things you couldn't do. You knew how to handle a rip current. If you got caught in a rip current, you were taught at a very young age how to get out of the rip current, you know. So it's just kind of the way it was. It was just a great childhood. I'm glad. I feel blessed that I grew up when and where I did to have the freedom that I had that I tried to give my child, but times were so different. You know, our kids didn't get the exact same freedoms that we got as kids.
Yeah. And it's common sense building when you think about it. Like kids today, they don't have the opportunities to develop those common sense skills because everything comes with a warning, right?
Right.
I'm popping up pictures. This is that little Libby.
That's me. That's
all
me.
Right, y'all. Little Libby's sporting a bikini.
Look at that bikini bod.
First and only ever.
First and only. How about
First and only bikini. Yep.
All right, I'm going to move up in age because I need to know about this picture of this girl in a pink sweater with some curly hair.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
So that was my high school graduation day. After graduation ceremony, my dad took us all out to dinner. That was me in 2007. So I moved out of my dad's house at a young age, and then didn't make some very good choices. I somehow graduated high school, thank God, with college credits and like lots of other wonderful things. But it was rough on me and my parents, I'm sure. So I was actually pregnant in that picture on graduation day, and I had Maria 4 months later. So,
hold on.
Yeah.
Look
that
at that
right there.
Bitty baby. Oh my gosh, I want to eat her up.
Cute.
Wait a minute. Is this her too?
Yes, that was our first Christmas. We just wanted, so that's my ex, Jason, her dad, and we had just wanted a nice family photo in front of the tree, our first Christmas, and she would not stop crying. And so he was getting cranky, and I was about to pull my hair out, and that was our photo that year, and I love it.
I love it too. Yeah. I think it's awesome. Awesome.
My grandma was a bit upset when I sent that to everybody, though. Was not the proper photo.
Be upset. Come on, it was a perfect picture.
It was real life.
Wonderful.
Right, real life.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta pop up another one of Libby's. I'm gonna just pop some up and maybe they'll even stem some stories that'll come up when you look at it.
Yeah, I was daddy's girl for sure.
You were. Oh.
I don't know if I should tell this story, but when I was a kid, my dad was studying psychology. He went back to school and he was studying psychology, I think, on the GI Bill. And he would come home and he would do all sorts of experiments not experiments, but like he'd test things out on me and, you know, like be like, oh yeah, she should be doing this, or yeah, I think she'll learn faster if she does that. And I do remember all of that as a child. But my parents are very much. You ever see the show This Is Us? So if you want that reminds me so much of my childhood and my parents. My mom was like, my dad was like hands-on construction. You probably hear the jackhammering outside my door, and I'm still doing that. And my mom is was an artist. So it was very like, it just, when I watch that show, it just reminds me of my childhood and the way they dressed and the way they were. It's just crazy. Yeah.
That's awesome. Awesome. All right. I showed this picture the other night on one of our Friday night lives, but I have to share it again. We were talking about my childhood dog, Peter Poodle.
Peter Poodle.
So this, I have to share the picture of Peter Poodle again because he was the best dog, just the coolest little pup, blind as a bat, covered in stickers all the time because he'd go out on the beach and the stickers would get all matted in his fur. But that little dog was a trooper.
He just wanted a haircut. He was blind because he couldn't see.
Right? Right? So then this is from the same photo shoot, y'all. And I look at the clothes that my parents put me in and I'm like, what was
They're fantastic. Oh my God. You know how much those would sell for on eBay right now? Are you kidding me?
Right. If only I had them now. If only.
Yeah.
So those are just pictures that, I mean, that our dog always looked a mess because, like I say, I mean, we were running around the neighborhood all day long, and so was Peter Poodle. And I always looked just as messy as Peter Poodle because I was the only girl my age that was out playing back then. So it was me and a bunch of boys. So I was the biggest tomboy. I mean, horrible tomboy, but I would just do whatever I could to play with them. And of course, most of them were my brother's age. So my dad used to blame back when they were trying to teach me how to manage my money. And I went off to college and still wasn't managing my money well. Y'all, I married a banker, so it's all good now. Right? So, married a banker. We're good. But my dad always said it was my brother's fault because he would make me pay him and his friends all my allowance, all my childhood, so that I could play with them. So I never saved allowance. I always would just fork it over to the boys so I could play with them.
Oh, that's horrible.
Hustler. That's hilarious.
Right? Little hustlers. Yeah.
I have a similar story. My grandfather, he technically my step grandpa, but I didn't know any different. I always thought he was so stern and so cranky because he would make jokes. Like if I'd walk across his deck or his dock, and they had a big yacht and they had lots of awesome stuff. If I did any of that, he would always say he was going to charge me a quarter. And if I said, like, it started out as a dime and then like inflation happened and it started being quarters, and I would always say I didn't have any. And he's like, okay, I'll catch you next time, or you owe me, or I legit grew up thinking I owed this man so much money. Like, and then I realized that he was super cool and it was just supposed to be a joke. But I thought that he had a neck surgery, so he couldn't turn his head without turning and he looked so serious.
Oh boy.
Oh, poor guy.
I love it.
We ended up having a great relationship when I was older. He was fantastic.
No.
All right. Any other good childhood stories before we move on? I know we kind of got into teenage stories. I mean, this can go anywhere. I just originally was trying to go chronologically because I wanted to share our pictures chronologically.
I skipped my whole child.
But that's a bust. So, I mean, the sky's the limit where we can go. Like,
oh, I mean, gosh.
Adorable picture.
So that is a photo of me working on the medical surgical unit, I believe, at the hospital when I first became a nurse's aide. And that is how I started my healthcare career and where I met my husband. He was actually in my.
Is that around that time you met Bill?
Yes. So Bill was actually in my interview. They do interviews with the director level, and then they would do a peer interview with other aides and nurses to see if you're the right fit for the department. And so he was in my interview and actually hired me. And then, we started working together. So that was
he already checking you out? I mean, I don't know. That top you were wearing in that picture, I know that was an interview day, but that was a cute top. I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean that was like 17 years ago, and we've been together for 16 years. So yeah,
nice.
Best hire he ever had. Part of.
Yeah, he better not treat any of his other coworkers the way that he does me.
Right. All right. So because you brought up Bill, and I got to show your wedding picture because I think it is awesome. Boom.
Yes. So my best friend at the time was our photographer, and she'd never shot a wedding before. Actually, we did convince her to do a friend's a month before ours, but she just like dabbled in photography, and I didn't really give her a choice. I said, you're going to shoot our wedding. Like there was no, and I'm like, tell me how much I need to pay you. Like you're going to shoot our wedding. So I told her a couple locations around town that we wanted to go to, and that's where the limos took us. And when we got to this playground, I wanted this playground because it was on the water and there was a really nice like forest next to it, which we got pictures there. And then all of a sudden, because I had a couple of my stepchildren in our bridal party, all of a sudden there's kids playing on equipment and doing stuff, and not little kids, like my teenage kids. And so I have the picture that's us on the slide with our whole wedding party. And then I have us on a jungle gym. We're on the swings. We just made the whole thing a photo shoot. Yeah.
It's so awesome. So you guys on podcast, if you picture the old school, like yellow, like swirly slide that curves around, that's how they're doing it, like feet to back, a bunch of them down the slide with Samantha on the very end. It's super cute. Super cute.
Really cute. Yeah.
All right. I want to break this down, Libby.
This is great.
What am I even drinking there?
It looks like it's Dr. Pepper Diet Doctor, maybe? Pepsi? I don't know what you're drinking, but y'all, it is classic curly hair with the big old ribbon bow.
Oh, I love those ribbon bows. Yeah.
Bangs are crack-a-lacking in this picture, man.
That was just us hanging out on a Friday night in our early teens. Yeah. Drinking soda, being wild and crazy. Yeah, I don't know. Nothing.
Staying up for TGIF on TV.
Yeah. Oh, that was. I don't think we had TGIF in my day.
Oh, yes, that was mine. Okay.
We had Friday night videos, right? I think.
Yeah, Friday night videos. Yeah, that was trying to go back to teenage. Of course, I was 5 years older than you, Liv? So I guess I'm the oldie.
Yeah,
I am the oldie here. Yeah. All right, I'll embarrass myself. Hold on, these might be out of order. Okay, so yeah, I was a cheerleader. This was Little League football with tube socks to boot, matching sneaks. We were just cute as could be. So our Little League football team on the island, the Hilton Head Gators, appropriately named. My mother, she was trying to get my brother to play football. My mom was a big tomboy also. So not only was it my neighborhood setup, I think some of it came genetically. She loved football. Her whole life was a football lover. So when she was trying to get my brother at a young age to play football, she decided she would start coaching. So she was the first female coach in Little League football at the very minimum in the state of South Carolina. My guess would be in a lot of states, there were no women coaching Little League football at that time. My brother hated football. So I had to do, being the little sister, 19 months apart, anything that Bubby did. I called my brother's name was Orion, but I called him Bubby. Anything Bubby did, I had to be doing it too. So cheerleading it was, if he was going to be on the football field. Funny thing is, I hated cheerleading. He hated football, but we still kept doing it because it meant the world to Mom.
Aww.
But yeah, it became kind of a family thing. My dad would help in the concession stand, and he was part of the parent board. And yeah, it was a whole family island thing every Saturday. The whole island would, be all about Gator football. So yeah, I did that. And my whole family was just a sports family. I played a lot of sports, basketball.
Yeah.
Look at that hair, that feathered hair.
Check out that hair. Yeah. Don't tell me I can't rock a Farrah Fawcett hairdo if I have to. So I cheerleaded again in high school because my best friend was a cheerleader, and I loved playing softball, basketball. Those were my two big sports that I loved. Played volleyball, ran track, but basketball, softball were my sports. But my best friend Melanie at the time, she was a cheerleader, and we, of course, when you're in high school, you want to spend every waking minute with your bestie, right? Like that's the thing to do when you're in high school. Like my boyfriend, I started dating, so she started dating his best friend, right? Because you had to be together. So if I'm dating this guy,
right,
she needs to date his best friend, so we're together.
Yeah, forever.
So we made a pact that we would, she would try out for the basketball team, and if she made it, she would play basketball with me. If I would try out for cheerleading, We both made both, um, and did that for 2 years. And then the second year, we would go to summer camp. Our sports would do summer camp. So we would go to basketball camp for a whole week of nothing but basketball, or you'd go to a college and do cheerleading camp. And we did cheerleading camp one summer. And I thought I was in the fiery pits of HE double toothpick. It was just the most god awful anti Molly experience I've ever had. And I realized this is not me. I am not a cheerleader. I am not going to get up on the lunch table and do a cheer to win the spirit stick. I want to eat my lunch. Like, so I finally pulled Melanie aside and said, Melanie, I love you with all my heart, but I really don't want to be a cheerleader anymore. This is not my jam. And she's like, oh, thank God, because I didn't want to play basketball either.
So you would have done well in my family, because my sister and I, it's just us, we were forbidden from being cheerleaders, because back then cheerleading was like you were just cheering for the boys. And my dad was like super feminist, like you can't, you're not going to do that. And I wanted nothing more than to like be on the chin. He's like, no, if you want to play the sport, you play the sport, but you're not going to be a cheerleader. So all of our neighborhood friends were cheerleaders, and I was so hurt, but I guess now I'm happy about it. But
trust me, you were happy.
I think I would have been terrible at it anyway. I didn't realize it. I just wanted to be like the other kids. Like, we weren't allowed to have Cabbage Patch dolls.
What?
All right. So if you guys wonder where some of my mentality comes from, and that I'm maybe a little different than most people, like, all right, yeah. So forbidden to be a cheerleader, played other sports and everything. Could not have Cabbage Patch dolls because my parents did not believe in buying into the hype of this, and it was ridiculous, and the whole thing was absolutely ridiculous, and nobody was having a Cabbage Patch doll. So we got these handmade dolls.
I got to put the other side of this. On the other end of this stick, my mother actually took a trip with her friends to the Cabbage Patch Hospital and had custom babies delivered.
Right. I mean, this is like night and day. And we were, at some point, we did not have TV because they decided that, it was just like wasting our brains away. So, yeah, there was a lot of different kind of stuff going on in my household, which I wouldn't trade for anything. But yeah, it was a little rough it might have been a little rough at the time, when you just want to be like the other kids.
Sure.
And you're not. Yeah.
Sure.
You're definitely not.
Living up here in Uberland, even if I had wanted to be in a lot of the mainstream things, we didn't get a lot of it. Like, things would be released and then we would get it like 3 months later or whatever. So Furbies were a huge thing when I was a kid. And my dad was like, I'm not going to go out and try to fight for the 10 Furbies that are going to make it to this town. Like, it's not happening. But I lived with my dad, my 2 brothers, and my grandpa. I was also a tomboy. And my grandpa was a truck driver. So he would be on the road for a month or 2, and then he would come home for a few weeks, and the cycle. So when grandpa called the next time, I said, I want a Furby. And then he brought me home one from Texas. And that is how I would get things. Like, I'm like, I want gel pens and the cool paper that it comes with. And so he would go off and find the things that we didn't have around here so I could be cool like the other kids.
You don't think about that, but it's so funny. Even for us living on the East Coast, and my nieces and nephews are on the West Coast, Cal would be like, take Silly Bands. Silly Bands were all the rage at one point in Cal's life. And it was like almost a year later before my nieces and nephew knew what Silly Bands were. It was a huge East Coast thing before it ever made it across to the West Coast. So then when they got in it, we're like, here, and we just mail all of Cal's Silly Bands wherever this thing, But you don't think about that. Like, that's, yeah. Mm-hmm. By the way, when you said Uberland, you said it with a little disdain. You really, like, it could be like Disney World if you say it the right way. Like, when I grew up in Uberland, like, like, doesn't it sound like Wizard of Oz? Or like, I grew up in Uberland.
I think
It's
there was a park
magical.
named that up here, like a car park or something that you would drive through and see things. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uberland.
I grew up in Uberland. It
I
sounds
want to visit
magical,
Uberland. It sounds magical.
right? We can put billboards everywhere. See Uberland. 10 miles to Uberland.
This is what we do in Uberland.
Oh, y'all.
So
That
this
is-
I'm skipping way ahead now, but since we're talking about it, so we
No, I'm
are
glad you're
home
doing
to we are home to a ridiculous amount of waterfalls and formations and things like that, and waterfront beyond belief. We have more waterfront than any other state. So that is myself and my brother and my daughter. During COVID, everything was shut down everywhere else, but around here, all we have is state and national parks. So we go and we hike and we sit at the top of waterfalls and we just live our best lives in nature. So
I love it.
mhm.
That's awesome.
We may not have all the toys when they come out, but we have waterfalls.
You have beautiful landscape that the rest of the world doesn't have like yours.
That beats a Furby any day.
Right?
Right?
Yeah.
I didn't even like the Furby. I used it for a week and then I threw it in my closet.
Libby, I'm going to have you share your pictures as you go. That's really what we should have done, is everybody share their own as they tell stories, because you know what they
Oh, that's
are.
a good idea. Okay.
I can't tell who's who on all of mine when I look
Okay.
at it.
All right.
You know.
I know.
All right, so we got through high school, y'all. Let's talk about things you would get in trouble for first. We got to tell the real us, like what our personalities were like. So I'm going to guess Libby didn't get in much trouble. That's just a guess. I would get in a lot of trouble. A lot.
So I didn't really get in trouble. That was probably the problem. I didn't have a lot of adult supervision, and I was able to I didn't have my driver's license till I was 17, but I'd been driving since I was like 12.
Yeah.
Like I drove myself to driver's ed. So yeah, I don't know. I was just able to do a lot of things, but not a lot of supervision. So
yeah, I hardly ever got in trouble.
Oh, well, I guess I'm the trouble child of the group, y'all.
People would get very frustrated with me because I was very, very quiet.
Were you a tattletale, Libby? Would you tell? Wow.
No, because I would never speak up. No, and I had a really bad temper. So I probably let things build and build and build, and I did have a really bad temper.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I would get in trouble often, but one thing that I had going for me was a brother 19 months older who would get in bigger trouble. So my trouble seemed lighter to my parents sometimes, or I would kind of squeeze by with it because they were too focused on his troubles because they were bigger than mine. But yeah, when I think of the things that I did in my childhood and teenage years, Lord, it's a good thing I am here breathing and living, because the thought of my son doing the things I did just makes me weak in the knees. And you think you can, like, I just know how lucky I am to be alive today. Like, I literally, not just from swimming in the ocean, like, right? So you're swimming in the ocean, not real safe to do by yourself, but lagoons that had alligators that ate the dogs. We literally would swim in there with alligators. Like, we would go down the bank of our neighbor's yard and do flips into the water where the alligator lived that ate the same neighbor's dogs, several of them. But we were so stupid. Like, there was a palmetto tree log floating, and we would try to get on it and like log roll balance and do the, captain always goes down with his ship, and who would, hop down on it. And with an alligator in there, I would die if my son did anything close to that. Crazy.
So we don't have alligators here. Thank God. There's really nothing here, no snake, spider, or otherwise that is going to harm us. So we can go and explore and do whatever the heck we want in nature. But like, my brothers and I were like the kid, and my cousins, we were the kids that would like go jump off a bridge into a river or whatever. Like, and
Daredevils.
I've raised Maria the same way. We were road tripping a couple years ago. We just put kayaks in a cooler and a tent in the back of the truck, and we just went. And we had to be back home in a couple days. And we came across this river where everybody was putting their kayaks in. And as we stopped to ask people about, you know, the waypoints and what they were doing, these kids started jumping off this bridge into this very fast river. And they were even climbing like way up on top of the bridge. It was like a 30-foot jump. And rather than just stand there and watch, Maria went and changed into her swimsuit, and so did my brother, and they started jumping off with them as well and doing this whole thing. And so yeah, I taught my kid that it's okay as long as you know what's underneath. You can't be jumping down and not know if there's trees or cars underneath that water or whatever. But we talked to a couple locals, and it was totally fine. So I jumped off bridges, and I teach my child to do the same.
So when you say if they told you to jump off a bridge, would you? Your answer is yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
My answer is check the water first to know what's in there, and then absolutely go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. When we were kids, we used to vacation at a lake in Arkansas, and that was the big thing because we would go cliff jumping, but they drilled it in our head. Like you put on the depth finder, you circle the area, check for high peaks in the depth finder, and then once you knew it was safe, you could jump. I was never the one that was going to jump first, though, mind you. I was never going to be the first jumper. Not me. Not doing it. Yeah, but I was a troublemaker in so many different ways, not just the silly things, but I pushed the limit in high school. We lived on a small island. We did a lot of partying and stuff, and I was not the shy, quiet one. I was out there with all my buddies, living up life. So I guess the good thing to me about that was when I went to college, it's kind of like been there, done that. And so where I had a lot of new friends that I met that they kind of went wild in college. And I was like, I was done with that. Like, I was like, okay. I mean, not that I wasn't still having fun, but I wasn't making the silly mistakes and decisions that, because I'd already done that at 15, 14, 15, 16, 17. All those ages, we were doing those already. And I too, Samantha, was driving well too young, but I was not driving myself to driver's ed. I was only driving in my plantation at 15, 25 miles an hour, never out on the big road. But yeah, when it came time to drive, it was like, oh, I know how to drive. I got this. Wasn't scared at all. Yeah.
And that was like a thing with our town. Like when I started driver's ed, he was like, oh, you're from Barbo? Okay, sit in the back. Like, because he knew I didn't need to drive. Like, it was fine. And then he was like, well, we'll drive you home and then we'll drop you off. And that'll be your 25 miles. Because I lived 25 miles away from the school. And I said, well, I can't do that. And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, my car's over there in the parking lot. So.
That is nuts.
All right. Let's move on to the next phases of life, y'all. We were the kids creating the trouble or being quiet and not creating as much trouble, whatever our decisions were in our personalities, playing sports or playing Barbies. Then we got married and had our own kids.
What? Yeah, so mine kind of goes together. So I went to college, studied biology, microbiology, went to grad school, and that's where I met my husband, now ex-husband, but husband, my future husband, ex-husband. He was actually, so I got a scholarship to go to graduate school, but it required that I was a teaching assistant. So I taught in the microbiology lab. I was in charge of the microbiology lab and all the petri dishes and all that fun stuff. And it was awesome. And one of my students in the class kept asking me out. And I was like, well, I'm a teacher. I can't. Yeah, no, I can't do that. Now I have to say he was 7 years older than me, 7 years older than me. I was pretty young to go to grad school and he was on the older side. So, and I was like, all right, well, when the semester's over, ask me again when I'm not the teacher. So he did. And, then we ended up, staying together, getting married, having 2 awesome kids. And that was the beginning of life, really, for me, of my adult life and my family. So it all kind of went together, school, and we were both environmental scientists that ended up working in technology. And there's my sweet little Emma. She was the
Favorite
firstborn.
picture ever of Emma Lou. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, little
Look
doll
at
baby.
them.
And then my son came along 2.5 years later, Avery. He's just a little sweetheart, just full of love and energy is how you would describe Avery. All
He
heart.
really is.
He's all
I
heart,
always
that kid.
tell people Emma was mine. She's my child. Avery is so sweet. Emma's stepped ahead of me now, though. Dadgummit, she was always my train wreck with me. Y'all, poor Libby. When we had our storefront for Consignment, and I worked there with her, poor Libby would have to deal with me and my, oh my gosh, where's my pen? Where's my pen? What did I do with this? What did I do with that? And then at home, she's got Emma doing the same thing. Mom, I can't find my mom. Where's my Emma and I became the T-Dubs Club. We were the train wreck. So I was like, what's up, T-Dubs? Poor Libby had it at work and at home.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Emma's pulled her stuff together. She's got
it together, that girl. She really did.
Yeah.
She really did. She'll be graduating college this year. I can't believe it. My son's a freshman and she'll be graduating. And starting her life. Yeah.
Very proud of those babies.
I know. It's just
all right. Talk about my other niece and come on, Samantha.
So that's us when we were both babies.
Oh my goodness, look at that face.
My little girl Maria. So Bill and I got married when Maria was 4 or 5. And then I inherited 3 stepchildren as well. My husband is quite a bit older than me. So my oldest child is only a year younger than me. But they all lived with us and my brother all at the same time. So we had 5 kids, 4 of them teenagers. Yeah, the first year we were married in a 700 square foot house. It was, yeah. Sometimes Bill and I just look at each other and go, wow, how are we still together? Like we have an amazing marriage, but it because we went through a lot in the beginning. So yeah, we are definitely a blended family. And now so this is Tamra, our oldest daughter, Maria, our youngest, and then our youngest son, Evan. That was at Tamra's wedding a couple years ago. And then Tamra, I also have grandbabies, but
she's a grandma.
I'm a grandma.
I love that. I'm so happy you're a grandma before me.
What do they call you, Samantha? The
Grandma Sam. I'm Grandma Sam.
Grandma Sam, that's adorable. I didn't know that. Oh my God.
I've been Grandma Sam since I was 24 years old.
Grandma Sam. I love it.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. I love it. All right. So here's my wedding picture because it's one I could find real quick at the last minute when I told everybody to put this together. That is not my husband. That is my Paulina, one of my flower girls, who was a little baby that I always like to claim I raised her. She just recently got married. My little flower girl got married. My husband and I got married on Hilton Head. We met on Hilton Head. He came down for a wedding and was the wedding guest who never left. Stayed on the island. There's a lot more to this story. I'll tell you when we're having drinks sometimes.
It's a long story. It is so worth it. And it's so fun.
It's a very long story. But anyway, we got married in 1996 and have been blissfully married since. I say that lightly. There have been some rough roads, but we are
blissfully. I don't need that. Is that what you said? Is that what word came out of your mouth?
Yes.
She said it painfully
with a little grunt to it. As any marriage, we had our rough times, right? One of the biggest was trying to become parents. We went through a lot during that. And in the end, God blessed us with a little pumpkin peanut named Cal Liska. That is our baby boy who we adopted in 2001. I put my hands on him the day after he was born, and never looked back. And so we are parents of one child who is now just graduated from college in December and adulting. This is him and my brother at Disney. Aww. He loved his Uncle O. And one of my favorite things, by the way, if you know me, you saw my flower girl. I went to school for kids. My whole life was kids. I loved kids. I lived for kids. Which is why in my wedding we had 4 flower girls, a ring bearer, 3 junior bridesmaids. It was a flock of children, and I had to leave some out, and I felt bad, but I couldn't do them all. But anyway, so nothing made me happier than to be a parent, but also the happiest to be an auntie. Aww. I have 3 nieces and a nephew who live in Washington State. I have another 3 nephews and niece who live in South Carolina, who I do not have their pictures up here. So I just love being an aunt. That is like I love being an aunt so much that I make these girls' kids my aunt, right? Like I'm their aunt. I mean, I make them my nieces, and I love being the cool aunt. I think it's so much fun. But we have our Cal who kept us very busy. He was a little athlete who played lacrosse, soccer, baseball. If it had a sport, he was in it, at least for trying it. Soccer being his number 1 that he played religiously year-round, both club and school, and kept us on the side of soccer fields until he went to college. Like it was nonstop. Libby knows she had to live through it. There's my niece and I at the beach.
Oh, that's cute.
And then y'all need to see my husband. There he is. He does exist. That is
He
Nick.
does exist.
That is Nick. This is us at Cal's high school graduation. Proud mom and dad. Yeah, so that is us. There's my baby, more adulting in college. All grown up. So yeah, we couldn't be more proud of him. We really are very, very, this one wasn't in chronological order. There's us at the beach. Oh, little family beach walk. But y'all, because I was kind of skimming through all my pictures, I just have to show some fun pictures real quick of me and hanging out with one of my besties, Libby.
Yes.
Libby, what birthday was this?
That was my 40th birthday.
Your 40th?
Right?
So
yeah, that was my 40th. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Libby's 40th birthday. We had a masquerade party. Her sister, Addie, and her husband threw it at their house, and everybody came, masks on, and oh my gosh, did we have a blast. I was having so much fun at one point. I really thought the party was for me. Like they come out, they're like, hey, it's time to sing happy birthday. I'm like, oh, she'll be okay.
So I just want everybody to comment below. Do they think that Libby should go back to being blonde? Maybe some highlights. I'm really feeling like we need to bring the blonde back.
Let's show that again. So, wait a minute. Did it show
like,
better?
Yes.
There.
Yeah.
Yep.
Libby as a blonde.
Here. Wait.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait. There I have a tan too. Wait, and that one I have a tan.
Yes.
Right
Dang,
there.
Girl.
You can tell you're Addie's sister right there.
Especially, I mean, you should at least go blonde before 2025 when you enter the dating pool again. So, yeah.
We'll see.
I think most of you know how we all came together. We've told that story multiple times, right? But thought, wouldn't it be fun to go through the who we are and kind of how we got here, right?
Yeah.
How we became who we are.
Yeah.
I have more pictures. Wait.
Oh, show them. Come on.
So this is my granddaughter in Wisconsin. That's Aspen. And then these are my grandkids that live downstate. Owen is our oldest. He is going to be 12 this year.
What a cutie.
I guess I'm 11 or 12. I've been a grandma a long time. Yeah. And then their little brother is not in that picture, but that was just a couple months ago when they were visiting us.
He looks a lot like Bill. Look at him right now.
Yes.
He looks a lot like Bill in that picture.
So we can go down a whole rabbit hole with that because our daughter is actually not his, and that was like genetically tested. We're still not sure about some of the boys. We haven't went down that hill, but yeah, most of his kids are actually not genetically related to him. But
wow.
Yeah, but you can still go through and be like, I don't know. Yeah, it's funny.
He looks like him. Totally.
And then there's Murray. So Murray is the only one that still lives at home. And we have our dog, Diamond. Everybody knows Diamond. She likes to interrupt many of our episodes. She is a pretty princess. And those are both Molly's nieces, Maria and Diamond. Yes.
I love them both. I do. Libby, are there any other pictures you need to share?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Little kiddos, birthday party. All right. I talk about my mom all the time and realize that I have like no pictures with my mother because she's always the one taking the picture when I was going through my pictures. But there she is. That's my mom. You will hear me talk about her. You will see her in some of the episodes. You will see her make guest appearances. But there she is.
That's the Jane. She is such a hoot.
She is close to a saint. My mother is close to a saint, more than anybody I've ever met in my life. She's hilariously funny saint. I am not a creative person, but no holds barred when it comes to Halloween. We go all out. I love it. We love making costumes and getting crazy for Halloween.
Yes, look at
that is the one time of year you will see me be creative. Yeah. There's my grown-up kids this year and our little Charlie Brown tree we got out of the backyard. Our new house.
I love it.
Aww.
Yeah. And of course, we got to close with Chummy the Chihuahua, who's on more episodes than we know what to do with. And
it's so vain that he has a pillow of himself.
Yes. So my daughter got me that for my birthday, that pillow, and it scares the crap out of me when I come upstairs sometimes and it's sitting there and I'm like, oh wait, it's just a pillow, or it'll be in a weird position. And I just giggle every time.
Well, Nick
it does still get me.
Nick thought that was Chummy when we were at your house the other weekend. And he thought Chummy was in the bed, right down on the floor. And he goes to sling his feet up on the ottoman. So Chummy burrows in this big fluffy blanket on the ottoman. And if you don't know he's there, you can squish him pretty quickly. So Nick goes to throw his feet up there. And I went, stop. He's like, what? I said, Chummy's in there. He goes, no, he's not. He's over there. That's a pillow.
That's a pillow. Yeah.
I was just telling Libby before we started recording that I was upset a couple weeks ago because she shared a picture of her 2 dogs. And how dare she get a dog without telling me? And then when I actually pulled the picture up, it was Chummy in the pillow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Chummy in the pillow. Yeah.
I don't think you could get one of those made of diamond. It would be gigantic.
Right.
Oh, it'd be huge. Yeah.
It'd be a body pillow. Oh, yeah.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
She is my body pillow.
She is the body pillow. Yeah.
I love it.
All right, y'all. Anything else we feel like we need to put in there before we close out with a good toast to telling you all about some of the ins and outs of who we are?
Well, I'm glad I'm going to get a new hairstyle out of this.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Libby's going blonde.
If you want more stories, make sure to come to Gatlinburg in August, where we will be sharing more things.
Yes.
I think we might have just overshared right here.
Listen.
Oh, probably. Sorry, Mom.
To Gatlinburg, you might get the full story of how Nick and I met.
Oh.
Yes. Oh, I will. Around a fire. Definitely.
And I'll hear it again because it's so good. It's so good.
Oh, yeah.
It could be like a rom-com, honestly. Like, it's unreal.
Listen, it is, because every time I tell it, I try not to make it too long. And every time I tell it, I realize half the funny things that I left out in the end that people, their jaws drop. Like, it's Maury Povich, Oprah Winfrey. I don't know. We should have written it all down. Poppy still swear. My cousin Poppy swears she's going to write a book about it.
You didn't say where you live now.
I'm in Greensboro, North Carolina now. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's important for these people coming in mid. Well, even people that know me could probably watch this episode and be like, "What?" All
I
right.
live in
So,
Greensboro,
yeah.
North Carolina now. I went from Hilton Head to Greenville, South Carolina to Philadelphia to back down south to Greensboro, North Carolina. And here I sit.
And people are still shocked because Molly and I work together in the same business that we're not in the same physical, like if we're not in any physical proximity at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People always ask how it works. I mean, just visiting Diane the other day, she sat with me over coffee and wanted me to explain exactly how it all works. And like, it's really not that difficult. I know it sounds wild, but just different shipping addresses on eBay, right?
Yeah.
Different accounts in the system.
Yeah.
So I find it funny when people talk about, oh, I have 5 eBay stores because they all have different niches, or they all do this, or they all do that, or different locations, or my brother runs one. And then I think you guys, you have one that you do together from totally different areas.
Because we have to do things opposite of everybody else.
We do.
I mean,
It's
it's just the way it
yeah.
is. We got to test it out, see how it works, right? If everybody's going left, we're going to go right. It's just the way it is. Not that
All
I
right,
know,
ladies.
not that I know which is my left and my right.
It has been fun chatting about ourselves because, y'all, we don't like to talk about ourselves.
No.
I've actually learned more about the two of you today, so that was fun. Thank you.
That was
Loved the pictures. Who knows? Maybe you'll see a few on social media at some point. Maybe.
Oh, wait. Let me start.
maybe. Look what we just done by giving her access to these photos.
Maybe. All right, ladies, until next time.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks for joining Libby, Molly, and Samantha, the ladies of Consignment Chats, as we build a resourceful community of collaborative resellers. Find all the ways to connect with us on consignmentchats.com. Episodes are available on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcasts. In addition, join our free private Facebook community.